Today from the BBC, a day of shame for the British state. What, have we just got started today? I don't want to drop this on anybody who's never read a long book, but there's been dozens of days of great shame for the British state. This is just the most recent one. Personally, I think the biggest day of shame for the British state in my lifetime was when it transpired that the British government, the mainstream media, the College of Policing, the judges, the politicians, the lawyers, and the police forces all conspired to purposely allow tens of thousands of swarthy foreign gentlemen to torture, groom, assault, and occasionally kill a couple of 100,000 children. I mean, if you're so morally bereft you don't care about children, what's worse than that? So this is hyperbole of the worst kind. The British state has shamed itself dozens of times in the last few years, and this is just the most recent example. Which individual shameful issue of the many, many thousands that could pick from are we talking about? Well, it happens to be this one. 40 years of bloody cover-up. A damning report has finally revealed how the infected blood scandal that killed 3,000 people and ruined the lives of so many more could have been avoided and was hidden for decades in a subtle, pervasive and chilling cover-up. Yeah, and you know what all of these damning headlines make very painfully obvious? They've learned absolutely nothing at all. No humility, no apologies, no shame. Because this scandal mirrors a more recent one. A certain bat-related pandemic, if you're a lunatic, which involved billions of people being compelled to take a vaccine that they didn't really want to take, and it appeared that the big pharma companies may have been greasing a few palms to make it happen. So sit back and relax as I explain to you the depths of depravity that take place in the minds of the collection of pill-popping perverts that we call the political class. And let's go through it, shall we? Okay, so just some of the big headlines today. We've got 40 years of bloody cover-up, the chilling verdict on the NHS catastrophe from the Metro. The Daily Express is claiming this is a day of shame for the British state. Weren't quite that hyperbolic when they were talking about a young girl getting rogered like a copper's radio above a greasy kebab shop in Luton, were they? They weren't that bothered about that, even when it turned out to be endemic and covered up by the police, the judges and the politicians. Bit strange. But yeah, peculiar flex by the Daily Express. What have the rest of them got to say? Day of shame for Britain from the Independent. Blood scandal covered up and killed thousands. Successive governments refused to acknowledge the part that blood products played in infecting patients, while children and adults were used as human guinea pigs. Yeah, children and adults used as human guinea pigs by big pharmaceutical companies. Where have I seen that recently? The Daily Telegraph, shame, yeah, terrible shame. The Daily Mail, it's a day that shames the British state. Shame, can't move for shame round here. And from the Daily Mirror, infected blood scandal, lies, cover-ups and evidence destroyed. Lies, cover-ups and evidence destroyed? Are we talking about what happened last year? Or what happened 30 years ago? Because if you literally just replace the headlines with everything the Orange Oracle said was true, you wouldn't have to, all the words could be exactly the same, and just change the photos for people that took a bit of a dicky turn after they were forced to take a load of jabs that nobody was interested in having. And finally from The Guardian, deadly cover-up of blood scandal finally exposed. So why am I talking about this, right? Obviously it is a scandal. When you read about that, it's a scandal. But it really is exactly the same as the most recent global healthcare scare. What went on there was a criminal cover-up on an industrial scale. That's one thing that Andy Burnham said, and it's probably the only thing I'll ever agree with Andy Burnham on, because the man is an absolute plank. But even a broken clock is right twice a day. Every mainstream media publication in the United Kingdom today is running these headlines, pointing out that this stuff is systemic and it covers every aspect of civic and international governance in the modern era. It's when the civil service, the NHS, the big pharmaceutical company, and politicians, especially those rats in suits, politicians conspire to rob thousands of people of an otherwise healthy life by forcing conditions onto them and not being forthcoming with the facts of the matter. They're talking about this blood scandal, saying, oh, so many people didn't need treatment. Well, how many 19-year-olds needed treatment via the medium of Big Pharma, jabbing them with things? The 19-year-olds, fit young lads, fell runners and footballers, should have been out, enjoying the life, going to the titty bars and getting infected the old-fashioned way. That's how you're supposed to deal with something as clearly unconcerning to people under the age of about 35 years or under the weight of about 35 stone. And the media did the same, didn't they? Sharing headlines like, healthy 26-year-old dies of COVID. And when you see a photo of her, she's got a head like a wheelie bin and more chins than the Chinese phone book. That's not healthy. It isn't. You lied about it. And the big thing to take away is not a single one of these newspapers had the balls to say what all of us can see, because it's written as plain as the nose on your face. It's basically a carbon copy of the last big healthcare scandal that I'm trying not to mention because it's still going on and you will still get banned and censored. I got banned 3 or 4 times during that period for simply saying, should we really be making fit young lads get this jab though? That's all I said. And I was banned and silenced, shadow banned, slammed off the platform on more than one occasion because I simply asked the same common sense questions that are probably going through your head right now. This current scandal going on now is the same as the blood scandal. The ministers, the NHS and the civil servants are lying to us. They're hiding the truth. Peter Hitchens and that Dr. Malhotra and Lord Sumption are some of the whistleblowers who were rubbished and smeared because they were telling the truth. Nobody wants to talk about the excess deaths data or the efficacy data regarding the jabs. And nobody should have ever been condemned to stay in their own house or not socialise with their own family members. It was a gross overreach by the state, and everybody with a hole in their arse or an IQ above room temperature knows it. Almost nothing we did in response to the Wu flu we should have done, and people in the know knew it. We had a pandemic response plan. Lord Sumption talked about it at length. We knew what we were supposed to do, and the second they got the chance, a whiff of power, they ripped up the rule book and locked everybody in the house for 2 years instead. They've been lying to us for years, and they're lying to us now. And all of this nonsense about this day that shames the British state, when you're old and grey and you're about 80, they'll be running the same headlines. They'll cut and paste all of these same headlines, and they'll just have to change the paragraphs underneath them because it'll be the exact same findings, the exact same lies, the exact same cover-ups. But this time, they'll be talking about, well, Donald Trump's conspiracy about a strange lab in China. Yeah. Anyway, that's just my opinion. If you think I'm a raving lunatic, and it clearly came from a bloke eating some soup, yeah, and Pfizer and AstraZeneca definitely have your best interests at heart, and it was totally reasonable and legal, and there'd been loads of precedent for some fat albino jellyfish to lock you in your house for 2 years and use coppers to fly drones after people that went for a walk in the hills, and it made loads of sense to lock all the gyms but open all the burger restaurants. If you think all of that made sense, well, let me know in the comments. And I reserve the right to respond by telling you that you would lose a pub quiz to an ice cube, right? That's just my opinion, all right? Let me know what you all think in the comments, and I'll see you all tomorrow, all right? Toodle pip. Cheers.